You're 23, sitting on Max's bedroom floor, and there's $4,000 between you on a laptop screen. Not real money yet, just a decision waiting to happen. The room smells like energy drinks and unwashed hoodies. 3 monitors are glowing even though only one of them is actually being used. Max already knows what he's doing. He's got 4 tabs open, a Discord server pulled up, and a guy named WhaleAlert_47 telling him something's about to send. He's not asking you to join him. He's telling you what you're missing. This isn't gambling, he says, not looking away from the screen. Gambling is when you don't know anything. I know things. You open one tab, VOO. You type in $4,000, hover over the button for a second longer than you need to, then click it and close the laptop like you're trying not to look at a wound. Max laughs, an actual laugh, not a mean one. Bro, that's it? That's your whole move? You just gave your money to a spreadsheet. You don't have a comeback. You just have a number that's going to compound whether you watch it or not, whether you believe in it or not, whether anyone in that room thinks it's interesting or not. You won't know who was right for a long time. That's the part nobody tells you at 23. The part where the two of you walk out of that apartment that night into the same parking lot, under the same streetlight, having just made 2 decisions that will take years to reveal themselves. In the car on the way home, your other friend Dev asks who's got the better play. You say you don't know, which is true, but it also feels like a cop-out answer. The kind of thing people say when they don't want to sound arrogant about a decision they secretly feel good about. Dev says he's thinking about putting some money into whatever Max is doing too. You don't try to talk him out of it. You're 23. Nobody talks anybody out of anything at 23. Everyone has to find out on their own clock, and the ones who try to warn you early just sound jealous, even when they're right. 8 months later, Max is up 340%. He doesn't tell you quietly. He tells you at your cousin's wedding, over the DJ, loud enough that your aunt turns around from the dessert table. He buys a car, not a nice car, a loud one, the kind that announces itself before it enters a parking lot, the kind where the engine is louder than it needs to be on purpose. He posts the payoff screenshot with 3 fire emojis. He starts saying things like traditional finance is a scam for people who don't understand math. To you, a person who works in finance now, at a table full of people who nod along because the number is the only thing anyone can actually verify. You're up 11%. You don't post anything. There's nothing to post. Your money just sits there doing the least interesting thing money can do, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. Nobody claps for 11%. Nobody asks to see a screenshot of a boring line going up slowly. You start to feel something you don't say out loud. Maybe I miscalculated. Not the math. You know the math is fine. The identity. Max looks like someone who saw something you didn't. He looks like someone with a story. You look like someone who played it safe because you were scared. And at 24, being the scared one is its own kind of shame, even when the numbers say otherwise. You call it discipline in your head. Some nights it just feels like fear wearing a nicer outfit. Your girlfriend at the time asks you once, half joking, why you never talk about your investments the way Max talks about his. You tell her there's nothing to talk about. She says that sounds like a good problem to have. You're not sure she's wrong, but you don't feel like it's a win. Winning is supposed to feel like something. Dev did put money in, like he said he would, right around the time Max started posting the screenshots. He's up too, riding the same wave, and now there are 2 loud voices at every gathering instead of 1, both talking about candles and support levels and a coin you've never heard of like it's a language you're supposed to already know. You start showing up late to things. Not on purpose. You just stop looking forward to the part of the night where someone asks what you're invested in and you say the same boring 3 letters you said 8 months ago. 14 months in, Max texts you at 2 a.m. Not the loud kind of text. 6 words. You up? Need to talk numbers. You already know before you call. You just don't know how bad. He'd taken profits, some of them, and put them back in, then borrowed against the rest to put in more because the guy in the Discord said this next one couldn't lose. You've heard that phrase before from someone else's mouth in a different story about a different kind of money. It always means the same thing. It means someone stopped measuring risk and started measuring belief. He talks fast on the phone, faster than usual, explaining a strategy that sounds less like a plan and more like a man trying to convince himself out loud. You listen. You don't say the thing you're thinking, which is that he's not describing an investment anymore. He's describing a bet he's already lost and hasn't found out yet. The car gets sold at a loss 6 weeks later. Not because he wanted to sell it, because the loan against the crypto got margin called and the car was the fastest cash he had. He does it on a Tuesday afternoon, alone, and doesn't tell anyone until it's already gone. He doesn't post about it. There's no screenshot for this part. The silence where the flex used to be is louder than the flex ever was. People notice the quiet before they notice the reason for it. Dev gets out earlier, mostly by luck, mostly because he needed the cash for something unrelated and pulled it before the worst of it. He never says much about it either way. He just quietly goes back to a normal savings account and doesn't bring up candles anymore. Two people went into the same room and came out with two different quiet endings, and neither of them looks anything like what either of them expected walking in. You don't say "I told you so." You don't say anything, actually, for a long time, because you understand something now that you didn't understand on his bedroom floor. He wasn't gambling on an asset. He was gambling on being the guy who called it. The crypto was never the point. Being right, loudly, in front of people, was the point. And that's a much more expensive thing to lose than money. Because money comes back. The version of yourself you built in front of everyone doesn't come back the same way. You still don't know who was right. You're starting to suspect that was never the actual question. Your Uncle Ray, the one who worked the same job for 31 years and never once mentioned his portfolio at a family dinner, is the one who says the thing that reframes everything. You're helping him move a bookshelf on a Saturday, both of you sweating in a stairwell that's too narrow for furniture this size, and you mention Max, carefully, the way you'd mention someone who's sick. Ray doesn't look up from the bookshelf. He just keeps walking it backward, one careful step at a time. "You think the index fund made you smarter than him?" he says. "It didn't. It just never asked you to be somebody." You stop lifting for a second, and the bookshelf tilts, and he tells you to keep your side up. "That's the whole trade," he says once you're moving again. "Crypto asks you to become a character, somebody with a thesis, somebody who calls it, somebody other people watch and react to. The index fund doesn't need you to be anybody. It just needs you to leave it alone." Most people can't do that, not because they're bad with money, because they don't know how to be boring on purpose. Boring doesn't get you invited anywhere. Boring doesn't get you a seat at the table when everyone's swapping stories. But boring is usually the only thing still standing in 10 years. You set the bookshelf down against the wall. Ray straightens up, cracks his back, and looks at you like he said more than he meant to. "I watched two guys at my old job do the exact same thing your friend did," he says. "Different decade, different asset, same story. One of them's still working there at 63 because of it. The other one's fine now, but it took him a long time to stop needing everyone to know how smart he used to be." You ask him if he ever wanted to be the guy with the story. Ray actually laughs at that, a short laugh, surprised you'd ask. "Every single day for about 10 years, he says. "You think I didn't want to walk into a room and have people ask me how I did it? I wanted that more than I wanted the money, honestly. But wanting it and needing it are different animals. I learned to want it and just sit there anyway. That's the whole skill. Nobody teaches it because it doesn't look like anything from the outside. It just looks like a guy doing nothing." You think about the wedding, the loud car, the screenshot with the fire emojis. You realize Max wasn't chasing 340%. He was chasing the version of himself that got to say he called it. You just never had to build that version of yourself because you never went looking for it. You didn't resist the temptation. You just never got tempted, which you're starting to understand isn't the same thing as being strong. It's closer to luck. 3 years out, you're not rich. You're not the wedding story anymore. Your number is up 61%. Unremarkable. Boring. Exactly what it was built to be. Nobody's ever asked to see it. Max is fine, actually, and that's the part that complicates the ending, and you don't get to skip it. He's rebuilding. He's got a normal account now, a boring one, the kind he used to make fun of at that wedding table. He never mentions the Discord anymore. He doesn't post his wins or his losses. Something in him got quieter, and you're not sure if that's healing or just exhaustion. Maybe there's no difference, 3 years out. Maybe quiet is quiet, either way. Dev's around too, these days, mostly unchanged, which is its own kind of ending. He never got loud enough to need to get quiet. He just kind of drifted back to normal without anyone noticing the drift. And sometimes you think his version of the story is the one nobody will ever make a video about because nothing about it is dramatic enough to hold anyone's attention. He didn't lose the war or win it. He just left the room before the war really started. You're sitting in his kitchen, new apartment, smaller than the one before, and he says the thing you've been waiting 3 years to hear, except it doesn't come out like a confession. It comes out like a fact, flat, already fully processed, like something he said to himself enough times that it stopped hurting on the way out. I didn't lose because I picked the wrong coin, he says, turning his coffee mug slowly on the counter. I lost because I needed to be somebody. You never needed that. That's the whole difference. It was never index funds versus crypto. You don't say anything. You just think about the laptop on his bedroom floor and the $4,000 and how neither of you had any idea you weren't actually choosing an asset that night. You think about how confident he sounded, how certain, how the certainty was the actual product being sold in that Discord, and the coin was just the packaging. You were choosing who you'd have to become to hold on to it. You still don't know who was right, but you finally know what the question actually was. Here's the part that isn't about Max. You know a Max. Maybe you are one a little, not in the coin you picked, but in the part of you that needs your money to say something about you. That needs the number to be a personality, not just a number. Everyone has a version of that bedroom floor moment, some decision they made at 23 that was really about who they wanted to be seen as, dressed up as a financial choice so it would feel more respectable. The index fund was never the smart choice because it goes up. Plenty of things go up. It was the smart choice because it never once asked you to become somebody in order to hold it. It never needed a Discord server. It never needed you to explain it at a wedding. It just needed you to be boring, consistently, for longer than felt satisfying. Ask yourself the only question that actually mattered in that bedroom 3 years ago, not which one will perform better. You can find that answer in a chart. Which version of yourself are you willing to become to keep believing in it? That one doesn't show up on a chart at all, because that's the trade you're actually making, every single time. If you are new to my channel, I request you to please subscribe this channel. Tell me where are you watching from? Thank you.